Loading. Okay, so now we are officially live.
We are.
Yes. So hey, what's
Yo,
up, guys? How's it going? This is right here, Afro Proletarian. He is from
yes.
TikTok. I'm sure y'all have seen him in your For You page at some point. He is a member of the Liberal Hype House. So no, you're good, bro. All right, so guys, how many people we got in here so
It's
far?
like, yo, Mary Rose.
Yo, what's up, everybody? It says 0 people are in it, but there's like people commenting right now. It's hella confusing. Oh no, 78 people are in it. Okay, there we go. Just updated. Yo, guys, how's it going? So, for the y'all that just joined, this right here is Afro Proletarian. He is a member of the Liberal Hype House. He is a supporter of Bernie Sanders. So, completely different opposing views on the political spectrum from me and this guy. So,
Like opposite.
I'm hoping to have a really good discussion with this guy tonight, not just like a debate where we try and like rip each other's heads off and like humiliate each other, just so like we can discuss the issues and, you know, form like a bipartisan decision and maybe find some common ground and maybe change each other's opinions on something. Who knows? So, so I'm gonna start out. Your name is Blake, right? Like your real name. His real name is Blake. Okay, so what's your name? How old are you? And where are you from?
I'm Blake, obviously. 14. I've lived in California most of my life, but I'm in Rhode Island right now.
Oh, okay. So what like got you really interested in politics?
I think it was November, and I saw part of the debate. Then I like read up on Andrew Yang, and then I started reading up on every other candidate. And I was like, oh man, this stuff is like important.
Oh yeah, for sure. So what made you decide to start posting political content onto your TikTok?
Oh, I just like got shredded in a debate by a right winger one time, and I was like, yo, I should like look more into politics and stuff. And then I started posting what I thought so I could get criticized from TikTok, and then I just post regularly.
So would you say that your political views align far left, liberal, moderate, or conservative?
Far left, because like I'm not a liberal.
I got you. But like you're not a communist, right?
No.
Okay, good.
I'm a socialist. I'm not a communist.
Got you. So out of all the 2020 presidential candidates, who do you support and why?
Bernie Sanders, because like he's as far left as we can get. I wouldn't consider him a socialist based off his policy, but like.
Well, you have seen him. You have seen him. I saw him, a clip of him in one debate, and it might have been, I don't think it was taken out of context, but he did say that he advocates for having like workers on like the board of different companies though. So I mean, like, while he might not have like directly socialist policies, because like that would probably get him canceled, like just like currently with like the political stuff that's going on in this country, like how people think. But like, I do truly think that deep down Bernie Sanders is at least a socialist. I mean, that's how I see it.
He's like ideologically a socialist, but like he's not gonna run on any socialist policy or enact anything like that.
Yeah,
I mean, he could get it passed though.
Oh yeah, no, for sure not. I mean, he barely gets anything passed anyways. Like when you really think about it, he does have
king though.
Huh?
He is the amendment king though.
That's true. That's true. He does change a lot of the bills to fit his agenda, which I mean, I respect. Okay, so what is one thing that you like about the opposing political about the political party opposing your views? So I would like the political party. Just one thing. That's it.
Oh, that's hard. I don't agree with the Republican Party on much.
There's got to be one thing. There's a thing that I'll tell you what I agree with the Democratic Party on, and maybe it'll spur something in your mind. So I think that we should legalize marijuana.
Oh yeah.
Because one, we can tax the living crap out of it. It would help shrink our deficit. Two, I mean, marijuana is no worse than drinking alcohol. It's like it's not going to put other people at risk. Like I read an article one time about a cop that said that he would way rather arrest a bunch of people at a party that were on weed than alcohol, just because like they can actually control themselves and they're not just like idiots. And yeah, not only that, but it takes a lot of the burden off of our cops' backs, because they make like tens of thousands of weed arrests every year, and like it's not even that big of a deal.
Like weed arrests are unjust and stuff, but like it's kind of hard because there's like a lot of different Republicans. There's the libertarian leaning on the authoritarian leaning.
No, I'm just saying like one thing that the Republican Party tends to align its views with that you might disagree with your party on.
Oh, gun control. I don't believe in taking or banning any guns like that. Okay. Like the AR-15 ban, I don't agree with that.
I respect that. But what makes you think that? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, just like the Second
Well,
Amendment, or like the fact that like it's actually like really beneficial to be able to own those.
the Second Amendment is important, but like also, I think people should own guns. I think every mentally stable person should own a gun
Mm-hmm.
because, well, one is protection, and if everybody has a gun, nobody's gonna like commit a mass shooting. They're gonna like be stopped immediately.
For sure, for sure. So, out of all of Bernie Sanders' policies, which is your favorite and why?
My favorite, it's got to be either him trying to empower unions or Medicare for all.
Fair enough. So, what is one thing that you disagree with Bernie Sanders on, other than
the
other?
AR-15 ban? Yeah.
All right. So, what do you think that Bernie Sanders' chances are of beating Donald Trump in a general election?
Oh, if he was in the general, I think he would win because he's like a lot more populist than Donald Trump was in 2016. And like there's a lot of similarities from 2016 Trump and then 2020 Bernie. I think it would at least be an interesting election. The independents would be like way more important in this election.
That's true.
Because they'd probably actually vote. But I think it would lean towards Bernie.
So
at least popular vote.
To that I have to ask though, what do you still think that after seeing like how bad the young voter turnout was for Bernie Sanders like in the primaries? Because like I mean, how do you expect him to win like in the general election if he can't even like win his own party? Like that's like I know a lot of Bernie Sanders think that he's really popular and the polls reflect that. But like the fact is like the younger people like they don't go out and vote.
The young voter turnout was like terrible and disappointing. But like I looked more into it, there was a lot of voter suppression at play. Like
how so?
By
Like
the Democratic Party, they closed like multiple polling stations where young people would be able to go to vote, and then young people like college people, kids are like busy. They have their classes, all that.
That's true.
So they can't like drive 2 hours to go vote. So they like, I guess you could call.
Well, they can get an absentee ballot. They get an absentee ballot if they really wanted to.
Yeah, but like a lot of them also wouldn't go through that effort.
That's true. That's true. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they would still be in college in the general election. I mean, like
yeah.
I mean, like the polls were pretty close between Bernie and Biden leading up to this, so they knew it was going to be a tight race anyway. So like what I'm saying is like if I don't understand how that adds up. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not sure if I definitely think the voter turnout would be different for a general election than a primary, just because the general election is a lot more important than a primary. And then all the states that don't allow independents to vote in a Democratic primary, all that, I think it would at least help tip the popular vote over to Bernie.
Maybe.
I'm not sure about the Electoral College.
But so Trump actually had the best incumbent voter turnout like in the history of ever. Being the president. So like you have to following. So like you have to think about that too. Because like I mean, Trump's voters are mostly boomers, and like people my age are like very proud to be Trump supporters. So like I'm gonna be in Arkansas, which is like 10 hours from where I am, but I'm gonna get an absentee ballot and vote for Trump for sure.
Trump is like popular among like everyone today.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I personally don't think that Bernie would. Or even Biden would stand a chance, but I mean, we can.
I don't think Biden stands a chance. That's why I'm like,
yeah. But here's how I see it though. Bernie has all the young people. Biden has all the boomer. Biden has all the boomers in the Democratic Party. All the boomers go out and vote. So I truly think that Biden would have a better chance.
But then, like, also, Bernie has like the vote blue no matter who vote. Plus, he's definitely going to get a larger youth turnout than Biden will. And then I can guarantee there's like no independents voting for Biden. People
I don't know.
Low with independents.
I mean, you never know. It's going to be an interesting election, first of all. The main thing that this election is going to ride on is whether Trump can get us out of this coronavirus soon. Because
I know his chances.
Yeah, like the whole central lifeblood of his campaign is like how the economy's doing, and like we're going into a recession right now. We're kind of already in like a mini recession.
Yeah,
and like you can't campaign on a good economy if we're in a mini recession. So like that's why I'm a little bit afraid. But it's definitely gonna be a lot tighter now with this whole coronavirus stuff. So moving on, Oh, okay. So what do you think about the severity of the coronavirus and how long do you think that it will all last?
Well, economically, it's like definitely really severe.
For sure.
And then health wise, it's not severe for like people like me. I'm healthy. I'm not old, but like for older people, I think they have to be worried. I think we have to like quarantine because of this,
For sure.
either self-isolating or government quarantining like businesses, forcing them to shut down for a little
100%.
bit, giving subsidies, all that. But like, I
Yeah,
think
for
it's
sure.
definitely pretty severe.
Yeah, for sure. So, how long do you think that it will last?
Uh, I've seen a lot of people say it'll stop in the summer, but I read up on that. It still survives in higher temperatures. So I think it honestly depends on how the government handles it.
Yep, for sure. So, do you think that the media is blowing it up to sound worse than it is, or do you think that they're being truthful about it, or
Oh, they're 100% blowing it up, just like they blow
yeah,
up everything else.
for sure. I agree. So, how do you feel about Trump's response to the virus? And if you dislike it, what would you like him to do differently?
I didn't like how prepared we were for the virus beforehand or
I agree.
how he started off handling it.
Like how,
But
like
like,
what about how he started off handling it?
I think he just like, it seemed like he wasn't taking it seriously at the start. And then him not taking it seriously made like a lot of other
I
people
don't know. I
feel
mean,
like,
I
hey, this isn't that serious. I can go out, and it left people. I can go out into like large crowds, whatever.
well, I'd say shutting off travel with China, shutting down travel with China back in like January when the Democrats were calling him racist for it. I mean,
Oh,
like I'd
yeah,
say that's taking pretty
that's
early
fair.
action. I'd
But
say
I
that's
think
taking pretty early action. Like that was before we even had a confirmed case in the U.S. Like he already shut down travel with them.
we needed to like, hey, this is like gonna be a global pandemic. We need to like shut down travel into the U.S. period before that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But like, I like how he's in favor of all these of like a UBI to help fix this, or not a UBI. There's
It's
another
not a
word for it.
UBI. Just
But like,
it's just
it's
a
the government check.
aid in the time of a crisis.
Yeah,
Aid in the time of a crisis.
in the
Very
format
different.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what would you have wanted him to do differently, like at the beginning?
I would have wanted him to emphasize the need to like isolate yourself from large crowds or maybe self quarantine.
For sure.
Just trying to change how the public takes the virus.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I would have done, I agree with what you said on that. One thing that I would have done is, so I don't know if you know this, but Germany came out with like all the test kits like before everybody else did.
Yeah.
And like this isn't necessarily Trump, but like the CDC decided, oh no, we're gonna make our own test kits. And then it took them longer to make the test kits. And right now that's why we don't have enough test kits. But if we would have just ordered them from Germany back in like February before this outbreak got bad, then we would have had hundreds of thousands of test kits, you know what I'm saying? And we would have known,
like
had a better idea. Yeah, but that's not really Trump though. That's the CDC. So like that's all like the questions written down that I have so far. And I want to get back to what we were talking about earlier before we went on live. So about like Amazon. So
yes.
yeah, so that this is like, guys, this is going to be like a really good conversation between somebody who is like pure 100% capitalist and somebody who is just describe your economic views. I don't know the exact. I don't want to misrepresent you.
Libertarian socialist for sure, but like I'd make a willing, happy compromise at like farther left leaning social democracy or democratic socialism.
So like what's a country that you would want to align your economics with, unless there's not one?
There's not one right now. All the like major socialist countries are like really authoritarian.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not for that.
So like, what do you think about like the countries like Norway, Sweden, Denmark, like what most Bernie supporters like say are socialists? Like, what do you think about that?
Oh yeah, those aren't socialist. Those are social democratic, which is like,
thank you,
left-leaning capitalism.
Yeah. So yeah, and so guys, like I just want to like make this clear for all of y'all. So for all of the Trump supporters in here, if a burn bro, this is a very smart burn bro because he knows that they're not socialist. So if a burn bro tries to tell you that Norway, Sweden, and Denmark are socialists, you tell them that is literally not true at all. All they are is they're market economies with a larger social safety net, like they have Medicare for all, stuff like that. And one thing that a lot of people don't understand is, I don't know if all of them don't have one, but I know that Sweden has no minimum wage whatsoever.
Yeah, but like you're also required to get a job through a union, so it's like I'd be fine with either one, the higher minimum wage or getting a job through a union. so that you can have a living wage.
I get what you're saying. So let's transition from that over to Amazon now that we know both of our economic views. So you were talking earlier about how you think that there should be some workers on a corporate board at Amazon or and other companies for that matter, or there should be like some government regulation in there to make sure that like the workers were in like better conditions than they were at, say, for a company like Amazon. Like some companies are very good at giving their workers conditions. Like my dad's company, for example, is. So like just like unpack that like for everybody that's watching and like didn't hear anything else.
All right. So obviously like Amazon themselves, they were treating workers terribly, just absolutely horribly. And then if it weren't for the government interfering and then them getting like bad publicity from it, I think they would still be treating their workers terribly. I think we need government regulation or workers having more representation in the corporate board to prevent that from happening again and to stop that from happening right now.
So like I can definitely agree with you on the fact that we should have government regulation to make sure that workers aren't working in poor conditions. But like the part where I disagree with you, like, oh yeah, well, yeah, I agree with you 100% on that. Like, because like nobody should be forced to work in like a crappy environment. Like that's just not healthy, obviously not human. So the part that I disagree with you on is the fact that we should allow like workers who don't own like a significant like part in the company, like in shares. I disagree with you in that the fact that I don't think that they should be able to like sit on a corporate board like that, just because like the fact that they haven't invested anything in the company. So like if I have to ask you, why do you think that they should be able to sit on that corporate board if they haven't like say put millions of dollars into a company like that?
Well, I mean, while they haven't put their money into the company, they put their work and their labor into the company, blood, sweat, tears, all that stuff, all that mumbo jumbo, all that.
So like,
so they work there. I think it also depends on how much they're being paid.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like there should be representatives from the workers who speak directly to the workers or are a worker. And if you're getting representation on the corporate board, you shouldn't like be paid millions of dollars because of that. But I think that you need to have at least one person being represented with all the corporate people. Otherwise, they're not going to understand the workers or the workers' conditions.
Not
and
necessarily.
There's a pretty good chance they're going to try to maximize profit at the expense of the workers, which has happened in the past.
Yeah, that doesn't always happen though.
That doesn't always happen, but it normally happens. Like a lot.
Not really. I mean, some corporations are greedy like that, but like, see, like, here's how I see it. Like, if the company, say Amazon went under, okay, the investors and like the people who put their money into the company would go under. The workers would not go under. The workers could find other jobs. Like, so I don't think that they deserve representation on like a board of a company like Amazon, like a humongous corporation, because if the company sunk under, they would be just fine. Like nothing would happen to them. They would just lose their job. They could find another job. But like if the company did go under and like the people who invested millions and billions of dollars into Amazon, they would literally go under and lose everything and probably have to declare bankruptcy, while the workers wouldn't. And so like that's why I don't think that a worker should like be allowed on a board like that unless they put millions and millions of dollars into it. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's just that's how I see it.
The people that invested money into it, they always have the chance of going under, going bankrupt. But then the workers themselves, they also lose all that time that they've invested into the company. Then they lose their like primary income, their source of income. So they also have that chance of losing all their money, being like at step zero.
Right, but they can just find another job.
They can find another job, but like, especially in a place like
they lose their income for say, let's say a month before they can find another job. That's all they lose. They don't lose like everything, literally. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, but like let's say like Amazon, that's like a large portion of the workforce. That's gonna put a lot of people out of work, increase unemployment by a lot.
No, not a lot.
Well,
so
a pretty good amount.
No.
Yeah.
No. There's like I don't know the exact number, but so here's this. So actually, before the whole coronavirus crap happened, there was 3 million more jobs available there was 3 million more jobs available than there were people unemployed. So
Yeah,
if those people really wanted to find a job, I mean, there's 3 million more than everybody that's unemployed in the country available. You can look that up if you don't believe me, but
I'm not sure, but I'm 90% sure the unemployment is people actively looking for a job. So they're obviously looking for a job. If you want a more accurate number for people not looking for a job, you can look at the workforce participation stats. I think that I'm 90% sure.
Yeah, I don't know that exact like statistic and how that's all broken down, but like the fact of the matter is like out of all of the people that are unemployed in the country, like that whole number, there are more than 3 million jobs available for them as like before the coronavirus.
That's the
so
current people.
Yeah, but it may not be it may not be now because of the coronavirus, and it may not be in their exact area, obviously, but like it is available for them. So like that's just why I don't see the correlation as to why workers should have representation on a corporate board.
Well, that's like the amount of people unemployed right now, and then there's a pretty good chance that some of those jobs available are at like places like Amazon or the other big corporations.
Well, yeah, I'm saying like if Amazon went under, I'm not saying like every corporation goes under.
So say a company like Amazon goes under, that's a lot of those jobs gone.
Let me just look up how many people Amazon has, just like so we're not like guessing.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
How many employees does Amazon have? 750,000. So 750,000 current employees.
Then how many people are unemployed right now?
It was 7.4 million as of 2016, but the unemployment has declined like point something percent since the Trump administration.
Yeah, so that's still going to result in like a pretty good portion of people not being able to find jobs.
Right, but there's still
then it's like these places are area specific as well. There's a lot of different conditions between being able to have a job. You have to be qualified for these jobs that are open right now.
Well, yeah, most of the jobs that are open are like are not like corporate jobs, like up on a big company. Yeah. They're mostly like hourly. They're mostly hourly jobs, which is like what most workers at Amazon have.
Yeah, but like I feel like there's gonna be people that aren't gonna be able to carry out these jobs. There's gonna be the old people that shouldn't be working at that time. I feel like a company going under, like a company like Amazon, would be a disaster for like the workers and a disaster for the people that invested their money into it. That's like, it's right. Not loss on one side. It would just be a disaster all around.
Yeah, but it's definitely more of a disaster if you're going bankrupt rather than just like having to find another job.
It's still really big for the people that invested their time into it, but it's also like you're not just not losing anything because you're a worker there. You're still losing a lot because you're a worker at like one of the biggest places.
I mean, yeah, I don't think that constitutes having representation on a board when other people have paid billions, millions, possibly billions into it. You know what I'm like? That's just like,
I can see where you're coming from, but like I also think that just working at a place means that working at a place, investing your labor, your time, and quite possibly your money into it. I think not like every person, every unique individual can go to the board, just be like, hey, I demand this. It should be more like a democracy type thing. So
I don't think that a democracy like that could run a company like Amazon with maybe like a small,
it's not like a full, maybe democracy, like they have a representative to that they like the workers choose themselves, and then that one representative is on the board. So it's not like, hey, it's not like every single person's vote is unique. And then it's one representative for the workers on the board, not like the workers can just overthrow what the corporate board wants.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I guess that's where we have a difference in opinion. We can agree to disagree. Let me look at the comments and see if we can. Hey guys, comment something that you want us to debate, or just like have a discussion with. Can you discuss abortion? Okay, that's a good one. So let's just first like state our positions on it so everybody knows exactly what we are. So I am strictly pro-life. I am not a fan of abortion in the case of rape or incest or any of those cases like that. The only time I am okay with an abortion is if a medical doctor deems that the mother will die from the pregnancy or like be close to the verge of death. Like, you know what I'm saying?
This is like a tough subject for like all sides, but like
that's what I think.
I feel like abortion should be allowed up until 21 weeks because then you can basically consider that like a full-grown baby by then.
Okay.
But before then, it's like just a fetus or an embryo. And I feel like up until that point, the woman's choice is more important than the potential life of that fetus. And like, there's the life starts at conception thing. I feel like it's like a different type of life.
Which is true.
Yeah.
It's a different, how is it a different type of life?
Well, it's a non-sentient embryo.
So what about like somebody that's in a coma? That's like somebody that's in a coma. Like, can we kill them?
It depends on
that's on life. That's on
around.
That's on life support.
It's like
that's not brain dead, not on life support. We'll just have like memory problems when they wake up. Say the coma just lasts for like we know that the person will be just fine when they come out of the coma. They'll have some memory issues when they come out of the coma, and we know that it's going to last 9 months. Would it be okay to kill them?
Well, that's different because you aren't like giving birth to a child. You're
you're right. A child is a completely new life.
If it's a person in a coma, that's like not hurting anyone else. Meanwhile, you can lose a lot, especially like in America with pregnancies. You can like, it costs money just to give birth. The adoption system is like screwed.
How is the adoption system screwed?
Oh, like the amount of people waiting to adopt compared to the people that need to be adopted, it's just completely messed up. The amount of people that go into abusive
there's far more people waiting to adopt than there is people to be adopted.
So that means that there's that many people waiting to adopt that aren't able to adopt.
Well, it's not that they're necessarily not able to adopt. It's just that it takes a while and it's a process, which I think that we should speed up the process, like by forming another government agency to like completely deal with adoption on its own and speed up that process. And I would be perfectly fine with spending taxpayer dollars on that by defunding Planned Parenthood.
Yeah. My specific position on this is, if you're going to be pro-life, which you can be pro-life, that's fine. You have to support an adoption reform. You have to support.
I do.
Yeah, you have to make sure that these children aren't going to be getting into abusive households.
Yeah, and this foster care system is corrupt. We should reform it.
So if you're going to be pro-life, you can't like immediately make abortion illegal. You have to make sure that multiple other factors are fixed. You have to account for this massive influx of children that will be thrown into the foster system if abortion is outlawed.
Yeah, and I think that that would definitely be able to be achieved if we formed like a government agency for it. Because I mean, like, there's around like 900,000 to 1.1 million abortions in the U.S. every year. It just it fluctuates a little bit.
Yeah,
and it is decreasing though. Like if you look at like a graph, it's slowly like over time it goes up and down, but it decreases on the trend. But I mean, with the 3 million adopters waiting to be 3 million adoptees, I guess, waiting to adopt, I mean, that would effectively make it easier for people to adopt, like all kids. And if the adoption process was made easier, it would give people more motivation to adopt. So then you would see more people wanting to come in and adopt later. Then, not to mention pro-lifers are like 60% more likely to adopt than pro-choicers.
Yeah, but like, it would have to be like a process, and it would be a pretty long process. If you just outlawed it like outright immediately, it would be just.
Yeah, I don't think we should outlaw it immediately. I think that we definitely need to change the system before we do something like that.
Yeah. And then also you have to account for the fact that there's going to be like a massive amount of unsafe abortions that happen if you outlaw abortion.
Not necessarily.
Well, I mean, there's like a lot of people that like, hey, either I abort this baby or I lose my life. They're going to choose to lose the baby over the life, over
Well,
their own life.
I gotta say this: if we got rid of abortions, and there's always going to be people that do it illegally. If you outlaw something, it's like that. It's like that with anything. It's like that with drugs. I mean, like, I don't know the exact number of overdoses every year, but there's a shit ton of them. I consider ending 1 million abortions. Let's say 99%. Let's say 98% of those go away, and let's say 2% of them stay. And what you call it? Like illegal abortions or illicit, whatever you want to say. I would say that saving 999,000 lives is a massive net gain over that amount of abortions that would actually happen.
But, like,
you know what I'm saying? Like,
I would prioritize the life of the young, like, adults and the teenagers that are gonna, like, either face like a lot of financial strain. They're gonna like die trying to have their own abortion, like, what do you call, like, a homemade abortion, an illegal abortion. They're definitely going to die from that. There's going to be a lot to die from it. It's like similar to guns. Like, with guns, if you outlaw guns, like with an automatic weapons ban, that means only criminals are going to have an automatic weapon. So that just, like, what I'm saying is, it's fine. But I'm saying if we reform the foster care system and everything, reform the foster care system, fix the adoption system, make it faster, dedicate some more taxpayer money to that. I think that and make it a lot easier to adopt for the woman and everything. I think that would give people motivation to not get an abortion too, like to not do it illegally. Because if we make it easier for them to just give the baby away, I think that you would see a lot of those. I don't think that you would see a sharp spike in illicit abortions or unsafe abortions if we make it easier for the mother to give the child up and everything. Yeah, what we need to make it easier to have a child in general. I think that would include, like, universal childcare, which I know we probably don't agree with each other on that.
Why should I pay for somebody else's childcare?
Well, like,
why should I have to pay my money for that for somebody else's child?
I think that should just be part of, like, the tax plan. It should be part of America itself.
But why should I have to pay for somebody else's kid that I'll never see in my life? Exactly. It doesn't make sense.
Like, why should I have to pay for this child to be adopted if we're gonna make it a government agency? These taxes are,
so the child. There's a difference between a child, like, dying and a child getting, like, child care.
Like, it's the same thing with every government agency. Why should I be paying for the CIA to exist or the FBI to exist?
Because the government has according to the Constitution, the government has 3 duties: to protect your life, your liberty, and your property. And the CIA is part of protecting all 3 of those.
I believe the Constitution also says that the government has the right to lay taxes to provide for the general welfare of the citizens of the United States.
Okay.
So that could include universal child care.
Right, but why should I have to pay for somebody else's child care
would increase the quality of life in America, like, a lot?
Not necessarily.
Yeah, it was like, that means the more people are working.
The government is very bad at everything they do, in case you haven't noticed already.
Yeah, the government's not the best at
exactly. So
like,
why
anything.
should we?
I think increasing funding to it. I think increasing funding to all these programs would, like, help that a lot, because it's the people working there that are, like, underpaid, unmotivated, and then the people have to organize it. So I think if we increase the funding, like someone in the comments said, it'll probably decrease poverty because more people are going to be working. It'll increase the amount of people in the workforce. I feel like it's a net positive to
it does not it does not decrease poverty. Actually, you can look at, like, the statistics of when welfare was implemented. The poverty rate increased. Whenever you give money to poor people, they spend it on stupid stuff.
No, this isn't a UBI. This is just making sure that somebody has a place to bring their child for childcare, so they have the chance to go work instead of having to.
But why should I have to pay taxes for somebody else's child that I will never see in my life?
That argument can be used, like, anywhere.
Give me an example.
Why should I have to pay taxes to fund some intelligence agency, even though I'll never use the information that they gather ever?
Like, what intelligence agency?
CIA, NSA. Oh, apologies to NSA, but CIA.
I'm not even completely on board with the CIA anyway. I think that they do a lot of meaningless stuff, but they do some good stuff. But, like, that is also part of protecting our life and liberty.
It's for protecting the general welfare of like the United States.
Not necessarily.
Well, like that's how I see taxes. As long as the taxes are going towards benefiting someone or the general welfare of like the nation itself, I think that's important and a good reason to lay down taxes on us.
I don't think that I should be able to. I don't think that I should have to pay for somebody else's childcare. That's just how I see it.
If you don't have a kid, why should my taxes go towards a school?
Well, I don't necessarily agree with that either. I don't think that the federal government should have any role in school whatsoever. I think that should be left to the states.
Oh yeah, but
that's what I think.
Taxes from the state.
Okay, I don't think that people that don't have kids should have to pay extra in their property taxes for school.
Well, that's just going to leave a gap in like impoverished neighborhoods and then rich neighborhoods, because the rich neighborhoods are going to have a lot more money to go towards their schools, and then the poorer neighborhoods are going to have a lot less money because those people aren't going to be able to pay their taxes.
No, I'm not saying like the individual money from each school district goes directly to that school. I'm saying you pay the money to the state, and then the state distributes it evenly among schools.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What did this even start out as us talking about? This started talking about abortion, and then we got about taxes of childcare. That was very interesting. Let's get back to why I think abortion is wrong and not why I don't think that I should have to pay for childcare. Okay, so I think that abortion. I'm open to have my mind changed on really anything. To be honest with you, I'm a very open-minded person, despite what most people think about me on TikTok. So I believe that life begins at conception, and therefore we should protect it. You are free to counter that, change my mind, whatever you want to do.
Well, like, let me start off by saying, like, it's like basically impossible to change someone's mind on abortion. That's one of those hard set, hey, you grew up like this, you're going to have these values. I just don't value this, an embryo as much as I value a woman's right to choose whether or not she gives birth.
But she does have the right to choose. There's many things like abstinence, condoms, birth control.
You also have to make those more, what's the word?
Okay, condoms are like
easier to get these.
Condoms
are cheap and stuff, yeah.
Like 97%. Hold on, let me look up the effectability of condoms.
You have to make it easier to get these as well.
Condoms are like $3. Condoms are about 98% effective.
Yeah.
So they're like $3, $3 to $7 depending on what kind you get. So that's pretty accessible to me, in my opinion.
But then also just providing these, hey, you here have a condom. They're obviously not always going to use it because, well, people are stupid. I mean,
abstinence. If you don't want to have a kid,
they're not going to say abstinent because, well, people are stupid.
Exactly, which is why why should I take somebody's life just because of, why should we be allowed to take somebody's life just because of something that we do is stupid?
Well, why should you be able to? I think that the choice to have a child doesn't come from having sex. I think that it comes up from like before, like whether or not you have an abortion. Like, I think birth control should be free or at least like a lot cheaper. Not talking about condoms and stuff. I mean like Plan B, that kind of stuff.
Why should I have to pay for somebody else's birth control?
To prevent abortions.
Okay. Well, you can prevent abortions by 1, remaining abstinent, or 2, you can buy condoms for $3.
Remain abstinent. I mean,
exactly. Which is
all the places that are like, hey, like abstinence only education, those places all have higher rates of childbirth and abortion and teen pregnancy rates.
Exactly, but why should we punish a fetus, a baby, an embryo, whatever you want to call it? It's a human, whatever you want. It's a human. It has its own unique genetic code that's different from the mother. Why should we punish them just because somebody does something? Somebody makes a stupid choice in the moment. I don't get that.
Punishing it if it's one, it's not sentient. 2, it's like not even like developed yet.
Okay, but if you want to go back to sentience, again, somebody who's in a coma is not sentient. So you can't kill somebody in a coma unless they're brain dead and they've signed, like if I'm in a coma, I want to be killed.
I think that
you can't stab somebody that's in a coma.
Yeah, if someone's in a coma, they're like still able to like they have a general sense of what's going on around them.
But they're not sentient.
They still have this general sense of what's going on around them. This embryo doesn't.
But they're not sentient. So you can't use the argument of sentience.
Well, that's just part of the argument. It's multiple different factors that play into why you wouldn't like value an embryo the same as you would value a whole woman. It's like, yeah, somebody in the comments said it. Morals versus morals is like dumb because this is like stuff that you get as you're growing up from like. I read a book on this the other day. Morals like are like applicable to the abortion argument. It's basically impossible to change an opinion on this.
Okay, I guess I'll never have my opinion changed.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone have their opinion on this argument.
I changed somebody's mind. Somebody was pro-choice, and they didn't really know much about it. They just thought, oh yeah, their only argument was woman's choice, and I changed their mind on it.
If someone's informed on it, it's going to be hard to change their opinion.
Yeah, if somebody is informed, and it's a lot of stuff like that with politics. It's not just abortion.
Yeah, I feel like other things like guns, taxation, all those are easier to change your mind on.
Debate about immigration. That's a good one. Would you be open to that?
Yeah, I'm open to that.
So I'll assert my position on immigration. And then you can after me. So I am completely against illegal immigration. I don't necessarily think that we should just deport all of the illegals in the country right now. That would cost a lot of money and that would create a lot of havoc, a lot of polarization, and we already have a lot of that, so we don't need any more. Mm-hmm. I am for building the wall because walls have worked in the world before that cut down on illegal immigration. Like you can look at Israel, they built a wall. 97% of their illegal, I think actually 99% of their illegal immigration was cut down from that. The Great Wall of China was effective at keeping the Mongols out. And I am for helping more of like a pathway to citizenship thing, like with the illegals that are already here once we get the wall built, because if we don't build the wall first and we're creating a pathway to citizenship for illegals, you'll see an influx of people just trying to come in once they hear that. You following me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Well, you were just like, and then just let me finish. And then, I mean, yeah, that's about it. I'm definitely not for abolishing ICE, as they capture more than like 90% of all sex traffickers. So that would be I think that would be a very bad thing if we got rid of that. We'd have a lot more sex traffickers running around. We'll do LGBTQ next, guys.
Yeah. I think what we need to do is, well, with ICE, we need to like merge that into another organization. I don't think that needs to be a separate organization. You know
why?
Well, I think it's just a waste. There should already be border control or border patrol.
Well, that's a part of ICE. Border patrol is a part of ICE.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be up to a whole separate organization. It should be a branch of the police in the area.
So you think that we should use the police force to police the border?
Yeah.
I mean, I disagree, but that's very interesting. I've never heard anybody say that. Continue.
Okay, and then I don't agree with a wall because I think it would be ineffective in the long run, and like it would be a negative based off of the amount of taxpayers' dollars put into it and the amount of immigration stopped. I think we definitely don't need like open borders or anything like that. I think we need semi-tough borders. Just because, you know, I support a strong welfare state, and you can't have a strong welfare state and open borders. Then people are going to come in mass immigration, and the welfare is going to be useless.
Exactly. They already abuse Medicaid.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's probably something I'm closer to Trump on than like Bernie with not abortion, with borders.
So first thing, why do you think that building a wall would be ineffective?
Well, I mean, the amount of immigrants that come from air, water, and then the fact that they can still get through the wall. I mean, the fact that an 8-year-old climbed the wall.
Well, yeah, but
the replica of the wall.
Well, yeah, but if there's a wall, then it's easier it slows them down, so it's easier for ICE to come and get them.
Well, it slows them down, but like that's not going to stop a lot of people. I don't think it would.
Right, but if you look at like say Israel, when they built their wall, more than 99% of their illegal immigration stopped. And like the people that are trying to get in and kill Israel are definitely a lot more vicious than the people that are trying to come to the United States, for the most part anyways. Of course, like with the exception of like the drug people.
I don't think with Israel and how Israel's border was managed is like a good comparison to the US because, you know,
fair enough.
They're brutal out there.
Fair
they're
enough.
just gonna shoot someone on the border or
Fair
throw.
enough.
Yeah.
I guess we can disagree there. What's your opinion on like pathway to citizenship?
Oh, we definitely need one, but like there's definitely going to be an influx of immigrants if you just outright say, hey, if you're an illegal immigrant, you can have a pathway to citizenship here. So what you need to do is have tough border security, but not like, shooting immigrants or anything like that. And I don't.
Well, no, I would never support shooting anybody unless they were like sex trafficking. Unless they were like sex trafficking a child or something like which happens a lot. Like a lot of people don't understand this. Most of like sex trafficking like children does not occur by air or like through like ports of entry through the ocean. Most of them carry them directly across the border because there's over 1,000 miles of our border that is unprotected. And if we erected a wall, that a lot of that would stop or very likely slow down very much. That's one of the main reasons that I support it because we have a huge sex trafficking problem at the southern border, and a wall, I think that it's worth spending. Like the most liberal estimates of the wall have been like $50 to $100 billion. Trump's estimates are about 20. So let's say we can meet in the middle, like 35 to 50 billion. I mean, I would be perfectly fine with taking 50 billion out of our military budget to spend that on the wall if we could cut down on a lot of the sex trafficking that happens, because that is that's a huge problem at the southern border. You probably know that.
Yeah.
That's the main reason why I'm not necessarily like supporting. I know that the wall wouldn't stop all illegal immigration, but it would definitely cut down on a lot of the sex trafficking because it would make it a lot harder for the people to get with the children to get through the border. That's like the main reason I support it.
Yeah. It would probably cut down on that a little bit, but I don't think it would cut down on it like as much as you think.
Why not?
Because obviously these people belong to organizations. They're making a lot of money doing this. So just putting up a wall is not going to stop them.
I think that it would stop a lot of it though.
It would definitely stop some, but like these people are motivated by the profit that they're going to get through that. They don't see the children that they're trafficking as people. They see them as
fair enough.
Basically just see them as profit, and they're motivated to get that profit.
So like what's another way you think that they would get everybody commenting like saying I'm destroying people, like we're literally just having a conversation, like nobody's destroying anybody.
Yeah.
So like what's another way that you think that they would get them across if they didn't go, if they're say there was a wall, we built the wall, what's like the other way you think that they'd get them through?
Well, one, I think that they would like attack the wall, like blow holes in the wall.
I mean, yeah, that would just get neutralized.
That's obviously going to happen. And then it's probably going to result in more conflict at the border, at the ports of entry, which would definitely result in more lives lost.
Maybe at the beginning, I can agree with you. Like on the first 6 months to a year that the wall is erected, that it may cause more conflict. But I think that like if you look at it like say on a 10-year basis, I think that once everybody gets used to the wall being there, I think that it would be very beneficial to us. I mean, I guess we can just agree to disagree on that.
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be how a lot of the conversations end.
Yeah, which is fair. I mean, I'm always down for having a polite, respectful political discussion. And so like for everybody in here that's like liberal or left leaning, like this is me, like this is how I talk to people that I differ with political opinions on. I don't attack people.
Yeah.
Like everybody thinks that on TikTok I'm some like vicious dude. Like I'm really not. Okay.
Yeah, I saw the TikTok with the one Yang supporter from your school.
Yep, me and him always debate politics in third period.
Yeah.
It's always very respectful. Sometimes we like get passionate, like, and not like yell, but like we get passionate about stuff, but it's not like I'm like attacking him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's understandable. I've done that in school before.
All right. So LGBTQ rights. I think that this is going to be a place where me and him both agree on everything on, because I'm very libertarian in the aspect. So basically I see marriage as entirely religious, and the government, I believe in separation of church and state. So therefore, I don't think that the government has any right to tell people that they shouldn't be married just because of the same sex. I think that there's better things the government needs to worry about. The government is terrible at what they do, so I don't think they should be involved in marriage. The only thing that I think that the government should be involved in with marriage is like merging bank accounts and stuff like that, and having like tax deductions for people that are married. I think that gay people should get the exact same tax deductions as straight people can. And what a lot of people don't realize is that gay people are just as human as straight people. Like,
yeah,
they
exactly.
and I'm not one of those people who are like, oh, being gay is a choice. Like, it's literally been scientifically proven that being gay is not a choice, and you're born gay or straight. It takes some more long time, like, for people to realize it sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm for trans rights. I mean, I don't necessarily agree. I don't necessarily agree with it, but like, I mean, if you want to do that to your body, as long as it doesn't affect me, and as long as I don't have to pay tax money to help you change your body in whatever way, I'm very libertarian on that aspect. I could honestly care less. I don't even. What does the Q stand for? Doesn't it stand for queer?
Yeah, I think that stands for queer.
I don't even know what that is, but I mean, that's basically it. I mean, I'm very libertarian on the aspect. I could care less, honestly.
I mean, the only reason the trans right argument came up was the attorney general we have right now. He was like, hey, so Obama's attorney general, he decided to include gender and transgender people in the Civil Rights Act of 1964. But then this attorney general, he decided that he wanted to reverse that. So he did that through a memo. I made a few TikToks.
I think that's where we're going to disagree. I don't think that transgender people should be allowed to be in the military.
No, that's not military. That's just in general.
Oh,
that's
in general. Oh, yeah. I disagree with that.
So
yeah, I
don't like how the trans rights movement sparked up recently. So
yeah,
I think that needs to be reversed from what the attorney general did just now.
Okay.
I think that would be like the only place where you could possibly disagree on that.
No, I think that transgender people should have any rights that are given to any other people. They're still human.
Yeah. Oh, so we agree completely on that.
Yeah. I don't know if you would agree or disagree, but I don't think that my tax money should have to be going towards their like hormones or their surgeries. That's where we might disagree. I don't know.
Oh yeah. I think tax money should go towards healthcare, and then obviously that's part of healthcare for trans people. Like transition therapy is like part of the treatment for gender dysphoria. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess we can agree to disagree. Yeah, I know you're definitely like pro gay marriage and all that stuff. So that's one place that we agree. This might be where we might find another place where we disagree. So I don't think that transgender people should be allowed to be in the military, simply because I'll elaborate on why later. You can counter or tell me what you think about that.
Well, I think that they should be allowed in the military, and then like the whole male-female thing where there's different requirements. I think that should be based on your hormone levels and not just your genitalia. Because I feel like that would be a more fair way to do it. And I think that transgender people can have just as much of a reason to want to support their country and fight for their country as a cisgender person can. So I think they should be able to fight in the military.
What about the fact that their suicide rate is like 45%? That's like...
Well, I don't think that's due to them being trans themselves. I think that's a lot of that is how society views them right now. They're guaranteed to have poor treatment. There's a chance that they're not going to have a lot of money because they're transgender. They have to pay for their hormone therapy. They have to pay for their surgeries.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's because they're trans. I'm just saying, like as it sits right now, their suicide rate is 45%. I think that's very dangerous, not only to them but to other people that are in the military. And so, I mean, like, if that rate went down to like very close to the normal suicide rate, I mean, I would be for it. But I just, until I see that number figure right there decrease, I think that it would cause more harm than good, to be honest with you.
I think what needs to happen is like a bunch of different actions at the same time. So
like what?
We need to make sure that they can be able to treat their gender dysphoria through a reassignment surgery, through hormone therapy. They need to have that. That's important.
But do you think the government should pay for that?
Yeah. That's part of healthcare to me.
That's
where I disagree from like libertarians.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it might just be because I'm different on this aspect. I don't honestly see how people can like think that, like, feel obligated to pay more in taxes for somebody else to have gender reassignment surgeries when in the first place they don't even really need it. Like, most transgender people don't even get gender reassignment surgeries.
Well, like most don't. list this as a treatment for gender dysphoria. So I think that's a pretty important part of it.
I don't think I should have to pay for other people's transgender surgeries, anybody else's surgeries for that matter.
Yeah, that's just like a libertarian viewpoint on taxation.
I guess that's where we can disagree. Guys, give me some more comments for other debates. Probably have 365 people in here. Y'all are awesome. If you see any that you like, Palestine or Israel, we can talk about that. Do you know anything about that conflict?
I don't know anything about that conflict. Okay. Not enough to debate.
Well, it's not even really a conflict. Palestine doesn't exist. There you go. You'll have my viewpoint on it. Okay, so how white privilege isn't real. Okay, so that's, I think, that another place that we're going to differ in opinion. So I don't think that white privilege is existent, because I haven't seen any examples of systematic racism. And so, okay, so this might be the definition here. Just let me finish asserting my position, then you can have the full floor. So I see this. We might differ on how we define white privilege. There are some people that define white privilege as a societal benefit to being white. Mm-hmm. I define white privilege as I would define white privilege as the government systematically giving rights to people that are white that they don't give to people that are other races. That's how I see white. That's how I would see white privilege.
Neither of those are the definition of white privilege. White privilege is just that your skin color is not making your life any harder, Meanwhile, for a black person, their skin color is more than likely going to make their life harder.
How so?
Well, do you know what intergenerational oppression is?
Define it. I think maybe, but define it for me.
So, say a few 2 generations ago, there's the whole crack thing, the government putting crack in the poor colored neighborhoods.
The government put crack in poor neighborhoods?
I believe that's been proven. The CIA. The CIA does a lot of sketchy stuff.
Let me look at that, because that sounds like a conspiracy theory, but
I'm pretty sure it's been proven. It's basically the general consensus. Well, I can search up too.
I mean, even CIA crack cocaine controversy. This is a long ass article. I'm not going to read it right now, but I mean, how long ago was that?
I believe in the 80s. They basically just wrecked these communities on color. The war on drugs, that just also did that to communities of color. That means
I'm not talking about
a world where black people have a 1 in 3 chance of going to prison. That's obviously going to increase the amount of poverty in black people. That's why the poverty rate in black people is so high.
But I'm talking about right now. I'm not talking about in the 80s.
Well, that's going to transcend generations, though.
Not necessarily.
Because
how is that transcended into now?
If your dad was in prison for 20 years because he had a drug on him one time, that means, and then
that very rarely happens, by the way. Almost all drug arrests are for distribution, not just merely the use.
Well, back then. I mean, back then.
No, very rarely.
I think this is right after Nixon was talking about the war on drugs. There was a spike. Then right after Reagan made it a full-on war on drugs, there was a large spike in the prison population.
Yeah, which I disagree with.
That mainly hit people of color the hardest. And Nixon's aides, they specifically said that this war on drugs was meant to hurt communities of color.
He said it was meant to hurt the hippies and then something else. I don't think he specifically said communities of color.
Oh, well, he said black people.
Okay. Well, which I disagree with. I don't think that we should ever do something just directly to harm one race. But you can see, say for the Trump administration, for example, have you looked into the First Step Act at all?
Oh, I haven't looked into that, but based off of what I know about it, I applaud
it's very good for communities of color. So the First Step Act actually released it sharply reduced the sentences on nonviolent drug offenders. 97% of the people who were released from the First Step Act were black.
Yeah, well, based on that, I think you can see that example of white privilege there. The fact that mainly benefited communities of color, which was meant to benefit the underprivileged people. But that means that the white people for the past 50 years didn't have to go through this these attacks.
But
So that
again,
means your skin color isn't the thing that's making it harder for you to live your life. It's other factors.
but again, if you think about it like this,
And then white
I was
privilege
about
isn't
to make a
like,
good
hey,
analogy.
all white men are evil or anything like that.
No.
It's nothing like that.
Two things. One, most drug arrests are for distribution of drugs, not use. Even back then, almost all drug arrests were for distribution.
Yeah.
So I haven't seen any data that points it to where that like people of color distribute less than whites, for example. Like
Exactly.
I would have to see data that like, so like for me to see like a disparity in the criminal justice system there, I would have to see real empirical data that shows that there are a significantly higher number of white people dispersing drugs or distributing drugs than there are people of color, and then have the prison population reflect that. That's where I would have to see a disparity. So like after this, if you want to like, if you can like research it and send me info, maybe you can actually change my mind on this.
I can actually check. I have a list of like sources and stuff. I might have something on that.
Yeah. Okay, so that one's done. Let me think about something else. Okay, y'all that are like calling me gay in the comments, like shut up. Y'all are disgusting. Okay, I'm not gay. Hold up. No, I did not mean to put that on the screen. Gosh dang it. Hold up. All right, hold up. How do I ban somebody? This kid right here. Neo SA.
We already talked about guns and healthcare.
Yeah, we talked about guns. We didn't really. Did we fully do Medicare for all?
Well, it was kind of linked into the taxation part.
Talk about COTS.
Oh,
what about
that
COTS?
Also links into white privilege, the white privilege part. So we kind of talked about that.
Why does
my main issue with police is
what's your issue?
That I believe the system like specifically hurts and attacks minority groups, and that police protect that system. So at the very least, they need reform.
Well, can you give me like an empirical data number that shows that the police oppress African Americans at like a higher rate per se than the white?
That would go with the stuff that I'm going to send you after this, with the white privilege data.
Okay, fair enough. So I actually like researched this part like with the police brutality stuff a lot, because this is like a common like debate point that like people would like DM me on Instagram about, and I wouldn't know a lot about it. So like I researched like their figures, and then I researched some figures of my own. So like I guess I'll try and inform you like on what I've known so far. So if you look at like what the NAACP puts out, the NAACP puts out NAACP. There we go. I got it right. So they put out that a black man is like 5 times more likely to be arrested than a white man. Okay, like yes, that number is true, but here's the reason why it's that number. So African Americans constitute 13% of the population, yet they commit about roughly 7% more of the crime than whites do, and whites are about 60% of the population. So the reason why that number looks like that is because when you have such a small portion of the population committing 7% more crime than 60% of the population, I mean, obviously they're going to be arrested at a higher rate because there's way less of them committing more crime. So like I actually did a calculation on this. So calculator, let me open my calculator app. So if you do 60 divided by 13, so about white people are about 60%, 30%. So if the number was exact, say they committed the exact, oh crap, one of my lights just turned off. Oh no, dang it.
Oh, it's green now.
Yeah, I know, it's my thing. All right, but minor technical difficulties. My PS4 will turn on in a second, power everything. So if they say that whites and blacks were committing the exact same amount of crime, this would be the exact number if they were both arrested at the exact same rate for their crime. So black people would be 4.6 times more likely to be arrested than white people would, and they commit 7% more crime. So I would say that number is fairly even, like with that. You know what I'm saying? So like I just think that when the NAACP puts out numbers like that, I just think that they're very misleading. Because like, you know, like you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. But then there's the factors in the crimes that happen.
Like what?
Like poverty, for example.
What does poverty have to do with crime?
Well, if somebody is in poverty, they're more likely to do crime. I believe it's the consensus that poverty is like the greatest motivator for crime.
That's not true, actually. So the greatest motivator in crime is whether you are raised in a 2-parent household.
Well, that's kind of linked to poverty as well.
Not necessarily.
Yeah, if you're in a one-parent household, you're also more likely to be in poverty.
Okay. What's your point?
So these black people in general, this isn't as in like anecdotal, this is just black people in general. They've basically faced a different front of oppression every single generation. They went from slaves.
That was like over 200 years ago, so don't even bring that up. That does not affect anything.
Well, that links with the intergenerational oppression. They went from being slaves to being freed to being arrested for like minor things, being put into the prison population, being used as slaves again as prisoners. And then they go to this black code, civil rights laws, all that stuff just stacks up and attacks black people as a group,
but
making it harder for these people to generate wealth. And then the destruction of Black Wall Street twice, actually, right after the civil rights movement and in the 30s, I believe, Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's like every single time these black people got up to the level of white people and then the crime rates went down along with them, they were knocked right back down. And then if you're born in poverty, there's a pretty good chance you're not escaping poverty. The numbers show that.
True, but
and then if you're in poverty, there's a pretty good chance you're in a one-parent household. So that just all links together to crime. Then there's the wrongful conviction thing, where black people, I don't know the exact number, but there's a higher chance of them being wrongfully convicted.
Yeah,
there's like New York's racist stop and frisk policy.
Yeah, I'm not a supporter of stop and frisk or Michael Bloomberg, so like don't. Yeah, like
it's like a lot of different things.
That's not only is it racist, it's just even if it wasn't like meant to be racist, it's unconstitutional either way.
Yeah.
So a couple, you talked for a long time there, so I'm gonna like try and like break. I think I remember everything you said. So two things. One, the number one fact determining whether you commit crime is not poverty. That's a lot of people think that, but it's actually not. So like the number one factor in determining crime is whether you're raised in a two-parent household or not. And if you're raised in a two-parent, they may be linked, but you can't say that like just because you're in poverty means you'll be raised in a one-parent household. So if let me explain this. So there's like a lot going through my mind right now. This is like a big thing. So if you are raised in a two-parent household, your likelihood of committing crime drops significantly. And then if you're raised in a two-parent household with a father, that drops even more exponentially. And the reason, I think that the part of the reason why African Americans generally commit more crime at higher rates, it's not because it's obviously everybody knows it's not because of their DNA. Like some people said, that's very racist. Very racist. But it's because there's the single motherhood rate in the African American community is so high. It's like 70%, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And before you make the argument that it's because they're oppressed, well, actually, the single motherhood rate in the African American community before the Civil Rights Act of 1964 was like 50% higher, or it was like 50% lower before the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And so, like, since the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the single motherhood rate in the African American community has jumped like 50%. So it's not because they're being oppressed more. In fact, they're being oppressed far less now than they were way back then. They literally, like back then, you literally had Jim Crow and all that stuff literally trying to make them oppressed. Now it's just you have some racist people in the system, and I understand the wrongful conviction rating. I do agree our justice system needs reform, but I don't think that it's necessarily it. The numbers can make it seem racist, but I fail to make the correlation that it is literally the government trying to mass incarcerate people of color.
Well, right after the civil rights era, there was like the second destruction of like Black Wall Street is what it's called. So that just thrusted a whole nother bunch of people into poverty.
Right, but after the civil rights, that's far less than the people that were lifted out of it that were given rights by the Civil Rights Act.
Well, they were given their civil rights, but they were also thrust into poverty at the same time.
I've never even heard of Black Wall Street, to be honest with you. I'll have to.
It was at its peak. You can Google Tulsa, Oklahoma. That's like a pretty big thing.
I would have to. That began on 1921. No, it was founded in 1906.
And then
the massacre was in 1921. So that was like
yeah,
far before the Civil Rights Act, though.
no,
So,
that's the first example of it. And then they amassed a lot more wealth again, and then a lot of more of them were thrust into poverty right after that. I believe so.
I'm not seeing anything about anything after 1920. That's all I'm seeing. Yeah, 1921. That's like the last. I'm not seeing anything about that. But I mean, if you have any articles that can combat that, I was reading like from history.com about Black Wall Street, and like it said that it ended in 1921. So, excuse me. We've been on here for over an hour. I'd say like I'm gonna go eat in a little bit because I'm like really hungry, but we can talk for a little bit more. Talk about guns. I think this is one of the points where me and him agree on.
Yeah, I'm like, you wouldn't call it right wing on guns. I'm more libertarian on guns.
Yeah, I'm libertarian as well on guns. We actually might disagree. So if we didn't like make automatic weapons illegal, I think that like back then, I think that automatic weapons should be illegal just because it's just an infringement of the Second Amendment. So this is my
agree.
And what a lot of people don't understand is that like with automatic guns, most of the time the shooters that shoot up schools and stuff like that are very inexperienced shooters. They're just mad and they get a gun, and they're usually mentally ill. They're mad, they get the gun, and then they go in and shoot up a school. So they don't know what they're doing. So what a lot of people don't know is that actually like with a fully automatic weapon, you generally have a clip of like 30, or you can buy more clips, yes. But so with a fully automatic weapon gun, like an AK-47, for example, fires at like 900 rounds per minute, which is like 3 rounds per second, which like if you don't know what you're doing, it creates a ton of recoil. So like you're literally, if you're like trying to shoot one kid, like right here, you're going to like, and you hold the trigger down, it's just going to go up into the ceiling and maybe kill like 2 kids. Whereas if you had so it's far less effective. Whereas if you had like a semi-automatic weapon, you could just go boom, 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 boom on like 30 kids with 30 bullets.
Yeah.
So like usually fully automatic weapons would be far less effective in stuff like mass shootings, stuff like that.
Well, what exactly would be your solution to the high amount of school shootings and mass shootings in the U.S.?
There is not a high amount of mass shootings in the U.S. There's been like
school shootings.
I think that we should create. Okay, so one of two things. One, either create an entire task force, like a new police, just to be in schools. Say 1 guard per 100 kids, or something like that, or just having like a guard or 2 on each wing of the school. That, like, create an entire new task force for that. I would be happy to pay taxes for that if it meant the safety safety for kids. Or 2, have a system where teachers have to go through a rigorous training course about guns and be able some teachers, not all teachers are armed, but have it in like a safe, say in like a drawer in their desk, but that the teacher can't unlock it unless the principal has her thumb scanner, like an eye scanner, and then when it opens, it automatically opens every single one of them, and teachers have their guns. But the reason why I don't support like just having the teachers like right available to it is because like some teachers are whack jobs. I would not want a teacher getting mad and shooting up a kid. So yeah, those are my 2 solutions. Do you disagree, agree, maybe have something different, but agree with mine?
Oh, well, a lot of schools, I know at least my school, already has police in it.
Right.
We have 2 cops in my school.
But how many people are at your school?
My school is small, so it's pretty proportionate. It's like maybe like 800 max.
I think we should have far more than that, like at least 8 or 10 for that many kids. I mean, like that's a lot. Like think about that.
Yeah, and then I haven't heard that second idea. I'd like look more into if that would be like effective or not after. I'll look into that after this. But yeah, I think for me, we're going to disagree on this because of taxation, of course. But I think that we should fund mental health care for the children as well.
Well, schools always have like counselors already.
Well, counselors, but like, and then the person needs full on therapy.
Well, counselors are generally like psychologists, though.
Yeah, but they can't have the same effect as a whole therapist. And then obviously the parents are
not true. Not true. They could go every day.
They could go every day.
Exactly.
But like, and then they're getting home, they're in an abusive household or something. or they're being bullied in the school.
Bullying has actually gone down a lot.
Yeah,
like in the last years,
has gone down a lot. It's a lot less common.
It's very frowned upon now.
Yeah, there's like the counselors, and there's like a lot of downsides to seeing the counselor at your school compared to seeing a therapist outside of school.
Well, like here's my argument to that. So like a lot of people, I'm sure you're more smart on this than like most Bernie supporters, but a lot of Bernie supporters just think that like there's like hundreds of millions of people in the US that like half the population doesn't have health care. What people don't understand is that if you work at a corporation that has more than I think 50 employees, which is most businesses, like it's like 90% of them, something like that, they're required to pay for your health care as a worker if you work full time. And if they don't, they face a humongous tax penalty to the IRS, which is in 99.9% of cases more than the healthcare would cost. So like I understand that there is a good amount of people in the US that are uninsured, but like I think it's blown out of proportion a lot, is what I'm saying. Well, so like most people have healthcare.
Yeah, but I just don't think that anybody should not have healthcare. You know what I mean? I think that healthcare should just be something that you have.
I don't think that humans. I don't think that I should have to pay for somebody else's healthcare. Is what I'm saying. And like, you'll probably make the argument. Yeah,
but I think that would fall under the general welfare of the United States, and I think that that's an important thing for Congress to lay taxes on.
I don't think that it would help our general welfare of the United States. I think that would be a terrible idea. I mean, if you look at countries like Canada that have universal health care, I mean, the healthcare system there's a mess. There's people that come across the border all the time to get healthcare here. Well, I mean, the healthcare system there is corrupt. Like the wait time for like a life-threatening surgery is like double that of ours here.
Well, yeah, obviously we're not just gonna like copy it exactly. And the fact that so many other countries have done the same thing, and we can see the flaws in their systems, and then we can, cover for that.
Yeah, every country's done it before, and it's not worked very good in any of them.
Well, I mean, there's a reason like a lot of people leave the United States to go get healthcare in another place.
It's because they don't want to pay the money. Because we have the best healthcare. We have the best healthcare. Like, but there's a difference between healthcare and insurance. Yeah, we have the best healthcare in the world by far.
Our doctors like the best.
Exactly, but that's because that we've privatized the health sector.
Well, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that Medicare for all is just nationalizing like the doctors. The doctors are
the goal of Bernie Sanders is to get rid of all private insurance.
Well, no, it's getting rid of everything covered by Medicare for all, which isn't everything.
Well, even if Medicare for all was implemented,
and then there's a pretty good chance it's not going to be implemented. So,
right.
I'm guessing that it's going to be a compromise if Bernie Sanders is elected, which is unlikely. But
yeah, it would be something similar to Obamacare, probably.
I think it would be better than Obamacare. It would probably be a public option.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I'd also compromise on a public option myself too. I prefer Medicare for all, but I'd also like a public option as well.
Fair enough. I mean, we can agree to disagree there. Talk about the Confederate flag. That's an interesting one. So I'll assert my position, then you can assert yours.
Okay.
So I will never fly the Confederate flag because I don't have anybody that fought for the Confederacy. I have a lot of friends that are African American, and I know that they may say it doesn't impact them, but I know deep down it does. So there's just no reason for me to fly it. Like, it just inflames people. Like, I mean, I think that people should definitely be able to fly, like First Amendment. But I mean, for me, there's just, my grandparents immigrated from Europe. There's no reason for me to fly the Confederate flag. It doesn't symbolize anything for me. I mean, people can fly it all they want. There is definitely a lot of racist people that fly it. I don't think that the flag itself is racist, but there are definitely a lot of people that fly it to fit their racial prejudices, if you will. So that's my opinion on it. You have the floor.
I think it's not the flag itself, but what the flag represents is racist, because it represents the Confederacy splitting away from the United States. But then the argument you'll most commonly hear is it was about states' rights, but like states' rights to do what? In almost all of the articles of concession, it was because the main reason in there was slavery, and it was emphasized that slavery was a big position in there.
There was also a big position of the fact that the states in the union were unfairly taxing everything coming from the states that were trying to split off, like taxing them viciously, like above 50% on some stuff in cases.
Yeah,
It's
that
like they were
was
basically
part
imposing
of it.
tariffs on
Like,
it, which
they
was
weren't.
a big part of it. The biggest part of it was the economics. I'm not saying that slavery was not a big part of it. It definitely was.
Yeah.
But like the biggest part of it was the economic reasons, and that's how I see it.
Of course, that was a factor, the taxes, but what pushed them over the edge is getting somebody whose voice is want to get rid of slavery. I mean, Abraham Lincoln wasn't an abolitionist, but he had talked about how he thought slavery was morally wrong and how we should get rid of slavery, but he didn't know how.
I got you.
So
yeah,
that was like obviously the biggest, and then the thing that pushed them over the edge to secede from the Union. And I think that what it represents today, especially today, is nobody looks at the flag and says, wow, look, that guy's from the South, Southern pride. They look at it and they think slavery.
Maybe people from the North, but I know what people from where I live look at it as Southern pride.
Well, yeah, but I feel like the majority of people, at least I know, I've lived in both the North and the South.
Well, you live in California, though. California is a lot different from.
No, I've been in Louisiana and Virginia as well.
For like how Virginia's not really the South. How long had you been in like did you live in Louisiana for?
1 year only.
Yeah, then, I mean, at least I've been a lot of places in the South. I've been Louisiana, New Mexico, Alabama, Mississippi, Florida, and I live in Texas. I mean, like when I've seen the Confederate flag flown, it's never been about, oh, I hate black people. It's been about, oh yeah, like Southern pride, you know? Like, I mean, that's the people I've been around. But again, I don't surround myself with racist people anyway, so I guess I wouldn't really know. But
yeah, and then most of my family from my dad's side is from the South as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've asked them for their opinions on it, what they think when they see it. They also like don't see it as Southern pride, and none of them would ever fly it.
Well, they're African American though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of makes sense though, a little bit. But yeah, I see where you're coming from, and that's the exact reason why I don't fly it, because I have everybody on TikTok thinks I'm only friends with white people. It's literally not true at all. Like I have a lot of friends that are African American, and it would just make them mad. So there's literally no reason for me to fly it. So which is why I don't. It's why I don't fly it. I have no interest for it whatsoever.
I also like don't get the point in flying it now. It's not like it's basically just traitors at this point. Like not to the point where the law should say, hey, you can't fly it, but they were like, hey, we're seceding from the United States, and then they lost in the war.
Fair enough. It's basically just a participation trophy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't fly it, so it's whatever. You live in the South, and every person that has a Confederate flag in my neighborhood has the N-word on Facebook. Well, fair enough. I mean, I never said that there's not a lot of racist people that fly it, but not everybody is, and I don't think that you should just automatically label somebody a racist just because they fly a flag. Okay. So this person right here asked about how I feel about talk about how Nick says he thinks gay people deserve rights, but then he believes in traditional marriage. Okay, so I made that TikTok months ago, and keep in mind it's TikTok, guys. It's not like a formal debate area. Okay, so I believe that marriage is entirely religious. So therefore, I believe that marriage is the unity between a man and a woman. That does not mean that I don't think gay people should have rights. That just means that that's how I view marriage, as the unity between man and woman. I don't think that the government should suppress the rights of gay people just because they're gay. There's no reason to hate gay marriage other than the fact of your religion. And I believe in separation of church and state. So there you go. Boom. I'm pro gay marriage, pro whatever you want. I could honestly care less. I'm very libertarian in the aspect. That's just to clear that up for everybody that was thinking I am. Well, y'all might not see marriage religious. I see it as a religious thing as a Christian. How do you feel about trans people getting their own bathrooms? I mean, honestly, I don't have anything against like universal bathrooms or whatever you call it, gender neutral bathroom. I think that's the term they use.
Yeah.
I honestly don't have a problem with that. That just causes less controversy. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, if a private corporation wants to put a new gender neutral bathroom there, more power to them. I could care less.
Yeah, I don't even see the point in like gendered bathrooms like at all. I mean, there's perverts on both everywhere.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
then
that would definitely
just a sign on a bathroom isn't going to stop a pervert from walking into the bathroom.
Yeah, no, not necessarily, but it does provide some of a deterrent. I mean,
yeah, like it's like a really
it is a. I mean, yeah, but anything you can to keep child from being molested. I mean, that sounds like a good bargain to me.
Yeah.
But taxing the rich. Okay, this is probably where we will disagree on something as well.
Oh, 100%.
I believe that if somebody makes a lot of money, I don't think that the government has a right to take a higher percentage of it from them just because they are more productive in society and make more money. I don't see how that's moral. I don't see how the government has a right to come in and take a lot of somebody's money and give it to other people who have done nothing to earn their money from them. And I don't see how it's moral, in my opinion.
I think that, like in the Constitution, the Congress should have the right to lay and collect taxes to provide for the general welfare. I believe that that's part of it, and if that's necessary to provide for the general welfare of everyone, then they should do it. And I think that's necessary at this point, at least.
But what about the general welfare of the people that you're taking an insanely high percentage of their money for?
Well, they're not gonna like go broke. Like if you take
I know they're not gonna go broke.
$10 million away from a billionaire, that's not taken away from their general welfare. Well, they're still like insanely rich.
Far more than $10 million that gets taken from a billionaire, especially if Bernie Sanders is president. His highest top
52%.
52%, which is a insane amount of money. I think that's if you make over, $400,000, you get taxed.
I think it's $400,000 for 52%. Well, I think I have.
I'll look it up right now. Okay, so current Bernie proposal. No, it's 20 million. Okay, still.
Yeah,
it's 20 million. Still.
Like,
I don't think the government has the right to take.
You're not going to go broke from being taxed that much. It's not going to hurt your general welfare.
But it's their money, and also it's not just income tax. There's Medicare, Medicaid, which is like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, which is like another 15%, especially if you own like a private corporation. That's 15% right there. Boom. Then you have not only that, but you have property taxes, state sales taxes you have to pay. Even like some municipalities, like my county has a not income tax on sales as well as the state sales tax. So like it's not just income tax. We're already getting taxed a lot, lot, and that just adds more.
You're still not going to go broke if you have that insane amount of money.
Irrelevant.
You're not going to
lose
out on. It's like, I don't think the fact that somebody not being able to buy a yacht because they were taxed a little bit higher one year should stop us from taxing them a little bit higher to make sure everybody has health care.
But Bernie hasn't even proposed a way that he will pay for the health care. He literally said like 10 years ago that it would bankrupt the nation.
Oh, no, that's like completely taken out. He's talking about Medicaid, which is different from a single payer system.
You're right. Medicaid has significantly less coverage than his single payer system that it was proposed.
And then there's multiple studies to back that it would cost less money.
That I've seen that exact study that was done by
the Lancet study. That one was debunked, but there's other ones as well.
But
I can send you the other one.
It wouldn't save money.
I can bring it up to you. Yeah, it would.
Think about that. How would giving people Medicare for all, giving everybody Medicare, how would that save money if we're not already giving? If we're giving like, let's say, 20% of the people in the country Medicare for all. If we're giving 20% of the people Medicare in the country right now, how does that correlate? That's
according
a corrupt study.
To this study from the University of Massachusetts.
That study's also been debunked. They've all been debunked. I'm telling you.
I haven't seen the debunk of this one.
You can look into it. They've all been debunked. I've researched this too. Nothing is free. It always comes at the expense.
It's obviously not free. It's paid for by taxes.
Right, but he still hasn't came out with a way to pay for it. He literally hasn't. Like they asked him about it on TV and he didn't have an answer. Like in the debates and on CNN, he didn't have an answer.
I believe he released his plans to pay for everything the other day. You can look this up too. It's on his website. Yeah, it's the second thing.
How does Bernie Sanders pay for his major plans?
Yeah.
Medicare for all. Eliminating medical debt, that's not it. Medicare for all. According to, he only uses the Yale study, which has been debunked on his website. So that's invalid.
Study and then...
So that's invalid. He only listed the Yale study, which is invalid because it's been debunked multiple times.
And I believe I have other studies too.
Creating a 4% income-based premium paid by employees. Yeah, I'll have to look into that more.
You should look into it after. He has his plans for this now. These were released afterwards, after that TV thing.
I still just... But like all of that, it's not just that. That all comes along with raising the income tax in the top bracket, 52%. I don't see how that's moral to take more than half of somebody's paycheck just in income tax. They're probably gonna have to pay another 20% in property tax, Social Security tax, and everything else. He would also raise the taxes on like stock trades, and a lot of people don't understand that like these people that look like millionaires on paper, they really aren't, because like a lot of small business owners, they don't even take a salary. What they make is what there's left over in profits after paying all of their employees. So like a lot of people look like millionaires on paper, but they're really not. It's all their money is tied up in like investments. Like, do you know like what liquid assets are and illiquid assets are?
Yeah, I do.
Like liquid is like how, if it's something is a liquid asset, that means it's really easy to turn into money, like really quick. Like a lot of people have their money tied up in illiquid assets, like in 401ks. Like say, this isn't the exact number. Say my dad's net worth is $100 million, but his 401k may be $100 million, but he doesn't have anywhere near $100 million cash. My dad's 401k is not near that much anyway. Not even close, by the way. I wish it was. But like you can't, yes, you can take money out of your 401k when you're not 65, but you have to pay an insanely high tax on that. I mean, like, it's just, a lot of people look like these big millionaires on paper, but they're really not. Most of their money is in illiquid assets.
Yeah,
so
but
it's just very misleading.
It's also the thing you said about how you would think it's immoral to just take that much money.
It is
for the general welfare. That's also like not how morals work. I mean, I could think it's immoral that we live in a country where this person has this much money and then this person has this much money and they don't have equal healthcare coverage.
But the whole premise of socializing stuff like this, and I'm not calling it socialism. I don't think that Medicare for all means we are a socialist country. That is not it. But like that is socializing the medical industry, at least the health insurance part of
nationalizing it. Socializing would be if the workers had control of it.
Well, the government has control of it, so let's just say governmentalizing it.
That would be nationalizing it.
My bad. Sorry, nationalizing it. So nationalizing the health health insurance system. Okay, I got so wrapped up with words. I don't even remember what point I was trying to make.
I think they want us to talk about standing for the flag.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we can agree to disagree with the medic. Oh, no, I remember what I was talking about. Then we can get to the standing for the flag.
Yeah.
So the whole premise of this is, I'm breathing, therefore I earned something. Somebody, you don't have the right. Nobody. Okay, your local checker at the grocery store doesn't have any right to Jeff Bezos's money. That just because they're richer, and income inequality doesn't even have any effect on the poverty rates whatsoever. By the way,
I mean, according to the Constitution, Congress has the right to lay the taxes on Jeff Bezos so that they can get money to provide for the general welfare. And I believe that that's what Congress should do.
Well, I don't think that that's what, I don't know that's not even, Medicare for all isn't even necessarily better.
I mean, it's the system that I prefer. Like, you can have different ideas on how you're going to fix the healthcare system to make sure the maximum amount of people have healthcare. But I think that what we should do is make sure everybody has this right to healthcare.
Well, in emergency treatments, you can just walk into the hospital and they have to give you health care.
Yeah. but like it's not always an emergency. It's like,
I mean, I guess we can just agree to disagree. Okay, so standing for the pledge. I've recently changed my opinion on this. I used to think that we should deport people that don't stand for the pledge, but I don't think that anymore. I was kind of kidding, kind of not kidding back then. But so I understand that people believe that there are racial injustices happening in this country, and I definitely agree in some aspects of that. I don't necessarily believe it's systematic, but I definitely think that there are racist people, a lot of racist people, and we should condemn those people. But getting back to my point, I think that if you don't stand for the pledge, you are disrespecting every veteran that has ever fought for us to be a free country today. And I understand peaceful protests, and I support it. I think that while you do have a First Amendment right to do this, it shouldn't be against the law, obviously. But I think that there's a better way to carry out peaceful protest rather than disrespecting everybody.
Well, say you're protesting the military, then you're gonna like kneel for the pledge.
Well, if you're protesting the military, but the vast majority of people that don't stand for the pledge are not protesting the military.
Like, not even, I know a lot of it. My dad's a veteran. My dad's in the Navy. He supported Kaepernick in his decision to protest by kneeling for the flag. Do you know who Proud Libby is?
Proud Libby, yes. I've never I think so, maybe.
So me and him were arguing with someone about this as well the other day. And then his dad, also a veteran, doesn't believe that somebody should have to stand for the pledge, and he doesn't believe that it's wrong or disrespectful to.
But that's
I think arguably it would be disrespectful to not exercise that First Amendment right when they fought for that.
That's an interesting way to look at it. But yeah, again, I'm not saying that I don't think people should not be allowed to. I think that it's disrespectful. And I mean, you gave me those two examples, but like that's anecdotal. I mean,
yeah, I've anecdotal. It's just
I've also, I mean, since you brought up the anecdotal, I will as well. I wasn't going to bring this up, but I actually know a few veterans myself. There are a couple people in my family that are veterans, and they see it as disrespectful because even if you're not disrespecting the veterans, you are at least admit you're disrespecting the country to some degree.
I wouldn't call it disrespect because do you agree with the phrase dissent is the highest form of patriotism?
I mean, yeah, but that's not that. I mean, irrelevant. It's kind of irrelevant.
Like, that's a form of dissent. It's straight protesting the flag.
There's a better way to dissent than disrespecting the country and veterans, though.
Well, I wouldn't really call it disrespecting.
I mean, we can agree to disagree. I mean, I don't think I'm going to change your mind on that. And I don't think you'll change my mind on it. Okay, all right, guys. It is 9:07. Let's wrap this up in like a few minutes. One more question, guys. One more question.
Can I like plug this hat?
Yeah, fine.
Yeah, you guys should like go to my bio or the Liberal Hype House bio and buy a hat like this. I'm giving all the money I get to charity, or I'm spending it on being able to help people myself. These hats are in our bio. It says "Give America Morals Again." It's pretty cool.
Oh, that's kind
of also hoodies. It's a bipartisan.
That's kind of an oxymoron to me, a little bit.
Oh, why?
The party that supports abortion says we need to give America morals again. That's a little bit of an oxymoron.
Choice of abortion.
Okay, yeah, that's a dumb argument. That's a dumb argument. Okay, come on. If you're pro-choice, you're a pro-abortion. You are pro being able for a woman being able to abort, whether it's a choice or not.
Being able to, but like
you're pro, but you're by definition
the government should overstep in that segment. They shouldn't say, "Hey, you're gonna not be able to have an abortion because I don't think it's moral for you to." But like,
agree to disagree.
Also, this is like not partisan. I don't know if the organization that's selling them is partisan, but I was talking to my Republican friend at school. He saw that I had this merch. He was like, "Yo, this slogan's pretty cool." So it's not partisan. You're not going to be supporting Democrats specifically.
Fair enough. So a lot of it is the "Don't Tread on Me" flag. So I've seen that like 3 or 4 times. So the "Don't Tread on Me" flag. Do you know a lot about it?
The Gadsden flag? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like it's a big part of the guns rights argument. It's like basically a sign for libertarians.
Yeah, and Yes. So basically, it was created back during the Revolutionary War, as a symbol for the redcoats to stop screwing with us, and we like don't tread on me, like don't take my. That basically means like don't take my rights. And then the snake symbolizes like we're gonna like fight back if you take our rights, because like the coiled up rattlesnake. That's like in a nutshell, that's what it means.
Yeah, I wouldn't fly it because like myself, it's just kind of become associated with the party that I wouldn't associate myself with, or an ideology. But like, yeah, I support people who fly it. Those are like, I don't think I align with the party itself that flies it mostly, the Libertarian Party. But like, they're probably my favorite right wing party.
Fair enough. Alrighty, guys, that is our opinion on the Gadsden flag. There are 264 of you in here still, and I just want to thank y'all all for being here. I want y'all to thank Blake. I want to thank Blake myself as well for coming in here and having a bipartisan discussion with me. I think that it was for sure. I think that it was a very productive discussion, and later next week maybe I would love to have you on again, because we had a lot of viewers tonight, so obviously people liked it. Yep. So, bye everybody. Signing off. I will post more TikToks tomorrow, and I will probably go live again tomorrow. We'll see what happens.
You should follow my TikTok too.
Yes, follow his TikTok. It is the same as that little plug right there at the bottom, afro.proletarian. Alrighty, guys. Y'all are awesome. Goodbye. Have a nice night.